Hey guys, it's Jason Lewis with Supreme Lending, and today I am here with the lovely Miss Rina Peiffer with Bella Casa Realty, and we're going to be talking a little bit about new home construction. So Rina, new home construction, it's a huge part of our industry. So many people moving to Central Texas, so many people buying homes, not enough existing homes. So new construction is something that we deal with, but I think there's a lot of misconceptions about it. There's a lot of the process that people aren't quite sure of. And so today our conversation is just to talk about those things and to bring them out and to kind of show what sets both us apart and help people understand what that process looks like.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think as Central Texas continues to grow, there's only so much inventory, right? Sure. And so there's only so many resale homes at any given time that a lot of people are opting to do new builds, which I encourage. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful option.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's something to be said after going through the new home building process. There is a lot to it, but it's also the beauty of creating something, right? Making something that is specific to you, for you and your family and the things you need.
That's it.
But I also know that there's a lot to that part of it in determining what is the best for long term.
Sure.
The values of the home. So how do you work with people on understanding what may be the most important to them, or maybe not what to put into a house, but understanding what that means long term for them, as far as either a bigger lot, a bigger home, what areas they're in? Is there something that you guys do to walk through this with clients?
Yeah, and I think that's an excellent question. I think sometimes when you speak with home buyers and you think of the concept of building, sure, it's almost overwhelming. Oh, I can't afford that. Oh, there's no way I would qualify. Oh, that's just such a huge process. It's going to take every bit of 1 to 2 years. Right. And honestly, those are myths. Yeah. So I think it really starts off identifying, number one, what are your needs, sure, right? And so is it interest rates, right? Wouldn't you agree that the majority of the people are interested in the financing aspect? That's a big deal.
Yes.
No. When you're
no, it's a big part of it. It's, again, what we like to say is that anything that affects what that house costs you each and every month determines upgrade. It determines a lot. So you want to keep it in there. So having somebody to be aware of that and to know about the interest rates and when you're locking in. Some of that falls on when you're building, the time, but there are, the building process can be, what do you think, 6 months to a year?
It depends. So there's some builders that can knock it out in 6 months, and there's some that, might take up to a year. I've yet to see it be more than a year when you've got representation. Right. And when you have an agent that's checking, dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's, right? Going through the inspections and the financing. And so it can be a seamless process. I just think that you've got to have a plan in place, sure, right? So what does that look like? A buyer consultation, sure, right? Because my needs for my family are going to be different than your needs for your family. And so I think helping identify exactly what it is that you're looking for. Is it an investment? Are you more concerned about areas? Are schools important to you? Sure. Does the agent understand the difference between certain upgrades in properties? It's real important to understand the market, to understand the areas. So I think there's so much that goes along with that. Mm-hmm. That if you have somebody that's reputable both in financing as well as in real estate, somebody that's been around and understands how to help you, it can be a seamless process.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Well, and you touched on upgrades. I know that's the huge thing. I have many clients who have walked into these model homes that have every upgrade imaginable, right, and it can be very overwhelming because you see the house that has every bell and every whistle, and it's just kind of your immediate reaction is I want it all.
Yes.
But how do you help clients understand some of that is great to have, and it's beautiful and it's pretty and it's shiny, but maybe it doesn't affect the value of your home.
Right. And so that's a touchy subject, right? So you can walk into some model homes and what you see is what you get. So these that some consider upgrades, we consider standard. Sure. And vice versa, right? Oh, you wanted a roof with that. Well, that's awkward. That's going to be an extra $50K,
Right.
And so it really is, again, about education and knowledge, understanding the product, understanding the builder, understanding prior to showing your client all of the bells and whistles, what their needs are and what their price point is, right? And then identifying, hey, what are considered upgrades and how much are those upgrades? right? Because to me, quartz is so important, and that's something I have to have. And to you, it could be hardwood flooring. Well, depending on what that is, and that's going to help us with the level of negotiating. Sure. So understanding that on the front end is definitely the number one way to get your clients exactly what it is they need. And the only way you understand that is by asking those questions.
Sure,
right?
Sure. And so what you're saying, it sounds like, is that some of the builders, it may be standard to have certain level of items to put in the house, and others it's an upgrade. So you might be paying more. So if you're looking at all things equal, and you're saying, well, this house costs this and this house costs that, until you get into that upgraded process of what you want in your house, it's really hard to know what exactly the house is going to cost.
You got it. And understanding insulation, understanding the different R values with insulation. And I won't bore you with all of that, but having experience and knowledge to understand what it is that the builder is putting in the home, right? Aside from the aesthetics,
right?
Aside from the pretty paint and, the pretty stone. Yes, you can definitely, find value in that because you live in it daily, but it's more important than that.
Sure.
It's, like you mentioned earlier, what am I getting in my investment? Are energy efficient appliances important to me?
Right.
Or does my electric bill?
Well, I think everybody would say their electric bill matters, but it's also, when you're in there and you're picking items, it's really easy to, if you've got a budget, like most of us do, and you gravitate towards the shiny things that we are all accustomed to, that doesn't change your electric bill. Maybe spending some of that money on extra insulation, the windows upgrade, which are, windows are windows, right? No, windows aren't windows. They can make big differences in your electric bill, which overall is the cost of the house. So all that stuff plays into it. So it's having somebody to at least give you the information.
Correct.
Maybe not say, hey, you got to do that. You're not building the house for them, but you're explaining what this means to them.
That's it. And navigating them through the process.
Sure.
And so if you and I were to meet, I would already know that prior to showing you your first property.
Absolutely.
We would sit down with your family. You would tell me what your needs are. And then a well-versed agent is going to know how to negotiate that on your behalf. Right? How to ensure that what you're paying for, because regardless of the price point, that's a lot of money. I don't care what price point you're at.
Right.
That's a lot of money that you're going to be spending on a product, and you want to ensure that you're getting exactly what you want when you're building.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. And while they're building, you were basically there for the entire process, which, whenever somebody's buying an existing home, it can be a stressful process. And that's usually 4 to 6 weeks tops.
Around, it depends, yeah.
Yeah, but usually within, 30 days is kind of the norm.
Sure.
And then if it was to drag on so that would be 6 weeks long.
Correct.
That they're in this process, which can be, it's daunting. When you're buying a house, your wheels are turning, you're worried about, did you make the right decision? All these questions, but with new construction, that's a 6 to 12 month process.
Right.
So you have these same thoughts spinning in a client's head.
Right.
And so I think that's one of the big things about having an agent, especially when you're talking about new construction. Forget all the other parts and having somebody there to negotiate on your side, but to have somebody that's there to actually talk to you about the process and what to expect and what's coming next, I think is huge.
And I think you're absolutely right, is understanding the process, right? For example, inspections. Mm-hmm. That's not something that if you were to walk into a builder, that they would have a third-party inspector. They have their own inspections, they have city inspections, and whatever, that neighborhood may deem necessary. Right. But I'm a big proponent for third-party inspections, right? Why? Because the builder wants to provide you with a property that is ready to go, just as much as the buyer does, right? That's what you expect it shiny and new and ready to go.
Yeah.
And so getting a third-party inspector that doesn't have to do with the process is so important. And a lot of buyers don't realize that until they meet myself or one of my agents, right?
Yeah, I think I would even be guilty of that. If it's a brand new home, then everything is going to be working. Why would you need to pay for somebody to come in and to inspect it?
And so you're not inspecting the fact that, it's got brick and mortar, that you've got your foundation. We know all that. You're just kind of going behind the scenes to make sure that the functions of the home are exactly where they need to be. For example, when you buy a property, it's never been lived in. How do you know that things are functioning? Sure, you can flip a switch, but what goes on behind that switch, right? So we've got inspectors that are phenomenal, and they go in and they go behind the walls and they just ensure that the product that you're buying is exactly functioning just the way that you would intend it to.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that. And I think that is, kind of leads into one of the other big things about new construction is that it's kind of a turnkey thing that you go into a community that may be selling homes and they've got a sales agent or they've got an in-house lender that's already there. It just seems so cut and dry. You walk in, they take you and they take you and everything goes off and you build this beautiful home. I think it is so important, and not just because I sometimes compete with those guys, but because having somebody who is working solely for you, I think is hugely important. With the builders, the on-site works for the builder, the lender is connected to them. Not that they are doing anything wrong.
Oh, no.
I don't want to say that. But having somebody disconnected from them, at least having that checks and balances to make sure everything's done as best it could, I think is hugely important.
And I really couldn't agree with you more, right? I know you and I have had this conversation working together for years now of how you and I are advocates for our clients, right? So if I were representing a seller, I'm an advocate for that seller. If I'm sitting in a situation where I'm representing the seller, that's my main focus. So I think it's really important that our clients have an advocate when they're purchasing a property, right? Let me allow you to negotiate. A lot of people don't think that they can negotiate with new home construction, which is not true at all. You just have to ask.
Right.
You just have to know what to ask. And as real estate agents, that's what we're trained to do.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the same with the lending aspect of it. I want somebody who's going to have my back, who's working for me, who's an advocate for me, who understands my financial situation, right? And is going to gear me in the right direction. Would you agree?
Completely. Yeah, there's different products depending on the area you're buying. Not all lenders have the same products.
Sure.
So having the most amount of products that you can look at or have people offer to you, it may not be something you even need, but you never know if you don't have it as an option.
Right.
So I think it's a huge thing to have have a lender to work with as well as the builder's lender to kind of, like I said, checks and balances to look at what they're offering. There are incentives that are given to you. Doesn't always mean it's the absolute best deal. Strangely enough, people have this thought that, okay, well, they're giving me said $1,000, so it's got to be a great deal. Again, I'm not saying that people are doing anything wrong, but it's always good to have somebody else to look at it from a different perspective, just to make sure you're getting the best deal.
Correct, and I agree, because that $1,000 may look great up front, but in the long run, are you paying more?
Right.
Do is it going to supersede the quick $1,000 that I gave you to work for me?
Absolutely, yeah. If you're getting a higher rate, even a few thousand up front doesn't make sense. But these are lots of different things. Tell us something else about the new home buying process that maybe people don't understand.
Well, I think negotiations are a big myth, and I mentioned that a little bit earlier. I think that when people walk in unrepresented,
right,
and they walk into a model home, they think, well, this is the sales sheet, this is what I get or don't get, and this is the price. And they have a hard time negotiating, right? But again, as agents, I know I train all of my agents, and they've taken courses to train on the negotiating process. And I think it's important to understand that, right? If you can walk into a property and you can negotiate the price as well as some allowances, why wouldn't you?
Sure.
Right? I would much rather walk into a property and get a landscaping package, get appliance packages, blinds, whatever it is. I think it's also important for an agent to understand the inventory. A lot of times when a builder's in a property, right, and they're towards the end of their inventory, they're going to give a lot more because they're ready to wrap this up and they're ready to get to the next project.
Absolutely.
And that's something that an agent can help them with.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. No, I love where you're going with that, and I love the concept of having a team, being an agent, a lender, working together. You guys have the ability to not show one builder, but to show a multitude of them. And same thing, you're going in, once you've been pre-qualified with somebody else, you're going to go in and they're going to offer incentives with their lender, but you're going in the door saying, I'm pre-qualified, I'm going to be approved for this home, now I can negotiate to get you the best deal. And I think that's why having a team like us to help you with that is hugely important.
I think you're right. And I know you've helped a lot of my agents as well as a lot of my clients in that process, right? Where we brought you in and said, hey, this is what their lender can do. Is this the best that it gets? And you've proven, no, it's not. We could do better than that.
Right.
And sometimes, and you're very honest, right? You're like, yep, that's fantastic. Go for it, or I can do better. And so I think that honesty, and that diligence when we are advocating for our clients is really important.
I agree. I agree. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking to me about this today. I think we got some nuggets for our clients to take away. And hopefully you guys did get some. And if you have questions, please reach out to us, and talk to you next time.